to the Business and Bubbly podcast. This is the place for women in business who are on the journey of building their big ideas and want to have fun along the way. It's for those of us who also know we aren't meant to do business or life alone. Hi, I'm Charity Majors, your host and the founder of Business and Bubbly. Think of this kind of like the can I pick your brain chats that you've always wanted to have with those who are doing epic things, plus business besties, hype girls, and getting into massive action towards your next big idea all in the same place. Oh, and bubbles, because if you're not having fun along the way, you're not doing it right. Together, we'll unlock what it means to be seen, known, heard, and championed all along the ups and downs of entrepreneurship and being a woman in business building big dreams. Each week, I'll bring you a quick sip business tip, as well as interviews from top experts that make you feel like you're getting bottle service for your business. We're having the raw and real conversations and chatting about all the things, the messy middle, the pivots, scaling, the good days and the bad days, because here we do real. It's where we can work hard, play hard, cry it out, and dance it out all at the same time without being judged. This is a place where we are in the arena together and we are each other's biggest fans because most of us have enough comments from the cheap seats. It's where our too much is par for the course and where the gaps of our not enough are filled in by the other epic women that are around us. It's where we can be unapologetic about the mission we are on, about the big dreams on our heart, and the business we are building without having to be perfect or have it all together, or even pretend to. It's a supportive community where business is being done amongst like-minded women, because when money gets in the hands of good women, great things happen. It's a place where you have the support around you to get out of your comfort zone and go after your big ideas, because even when you fail forward or when you reach the top, you know it won't be alone. Also, if you know anything about me, you'll know that I'm obsessed with creating platforms that lift up other women to be seen and heard and known. So with that in mind, I'd like to invite you to list your business on our directory called Find Women in Business. All you've got to do is text the word directory to 833-231-8098, and I'll text you the link back to get your free listing. This is also a great way to connect with other women in business from around the world, so definitely check it out. And now let's get to the good stuff. Grab a glass of your favorite beverage, Prosecco, bubbly water, or whatever your flavor is, and let's dive in. Are you with me? Here we go. Welcome to the podcast. I hope you guys are having an amazing, amazing day today. I have a special treat for you on the show. Today's guest is Christine Corcoran. We have been able to connect through a mastermind that we are in, which is super fun. That's why it's always important, as a random side note, to get into the room with the right type of people who you know that you can connect with, who you know that you have like-minded thoughts and want to serve people. So get into those rooms, you guys, because you get to connect with amazing people like Christine. So Christine, she is a business mindset master coach. She is a speaker. She's the co-founder of the Rise Up Conference and creator of the Energetics of Money program. She is a qualified practitioner in Master Neuro-Linguistics Programming, Matrix Therapies, and an MBraining Practitioner with an extensive study of Human Behavioural Profiling. She also is an expert in hypnotherapy and leadership coaching. She specializes in doing the deep subconscious work and releasing and limiting beliefs and self-sabotaging behaviors to set you up with a CEO mindset, and helps you embody the next level version of yourself to achieve the success that you deserve. Christine, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I'm excited to get to chat with you more. Welcome to the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So we obviously just heard some really amazing things that you are up to, all of these really great,
Big
certifications,
words.
qualifications, and all the fancy letters behind your name, and which is awesome. But we both know that it wasn't always like that. So take us back and take the listeners back to kind of your meant for more moment, that time where it was like, oh, like, okay, like what I am doing now, like I can no longer be satisfied with where I'm at. And I know that I'm meant for more. So take us back to that moment and what you did.
Oh, yeah, we've all had that moment. My moment definitely would have been back when I was working in corporate before I started my job now, obviously, my business now. I was working in corporate and was working with business owners as a business development manager and supporting business owners to really take their business to the next level. And we were very focused on strategy. So we would give them these strategies. And what I would find is that some business owners would take that strategy and run with it and be really successful. And other business owners would take it and do nothing. And I'd see them in a month's time and they'd done nothing. And I would get really frustrated because I was like, what am I not doing correctly? Like, is it just not working? And so I then went and studied human behavior to understand why people do what they do and how I can better improve my communication style so that I can improve the way that I share to, obviously support their business to grow. And once I then started implementing that, I became obsessed with mindset and understanding what makes people tick. And I started to just further study and look into coaching and neuro-linguistic programming while I was still in corporate. And I was so fascinated by it that I was so open to sharing it with anyone that was willing to listen. So I started doing training with the sales teams, training with the marketing team to understand psychology so that they could understand how to better market to our brands and to our business owners. And all of these little bits and pieces I was so fascinated with, yet the company that I was working for was very behind the game, the way that I think about it. They, like all corporates, they're literally like 10 years behind any major change. And I would get so annoyed because I was like, if you just do this, like this could literally change everything in the way that we work with our customers and the way that we bring on new customers. Like there was all these things that I wanted to make changes with. And at first they were like, I think they humored me and allowed me to, teach their teams, and they were making the most out of obviously my new qualifications. And there was just these moments where I remember talking to, like, one was the GM and one was another high-end manager. And I could just see it on their face that they were just like, we're not going to do any of this. And I was like, what am I doing here? Like, this is a waste of my time, my energy, my gifts. And I am just not willing to sacrifice this, like this impact that I can make and the changes that I can create for my clients in a way that they want me to, because it was just dumbed down or watered down, I guess is probably the better way to put it. And I was just like, I'm done. Like, this is not, I don't belong here anymore. And it was really an interesting shift for me because when I first landed that role, it was my dream job. Like, that was what I pursued for so many years. And when I landed, I was like, this is the best, and loved every moment of it until I didn't. So that was definitely my meant for more moment where I was like, nah, this is not happening anymore. I'm not going to stay anywhere where someone doesn't value what I do and really see that this can make a positive impact and it's not just about the bottom dollar. And so then I was like, that's it. I built my business up alongside my corporate role and left actually quite abruptly. And they were like, what do you mean you're leaving? And I was just like, see ya.
Oh, I love it. There's so many good nuggets here. For one of them that I want to go back to is being in an environment where maybe your gifts and your passions aren't necessarily being either, maybe they're realized a little bit, but they aren't being fostered, or there isn't the space to grow. I just have a feeling like there are some people listening right now where maybe they're in that same space and they're like, but I love this thing. And look, this could totally help. Like exactly what you were just saying. Like, look at this amazing, like this could help our sales processes and our bottom line and our customers and our customer experience and all of this amazing stuff. But they just weren't even necessarily willing to go there. Right. So what would you say to maybe someone who they're finding they're in an environment that isn't primed and ready for their growth?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Actually, I was chatting to a client a little while ago And she was in a similar situation where she's built up her business well, but with a lot of her life experience and what's going on with her life, she can't leave the job that she's in. And I was like, okay, well, we've got to make the most of it, because even though I say like I left abruptly, it felt really abrupt for me. And it also was very abrupt for them, because they had no clue that I was building up my business alongside. And so, but I had stayed there for a good, I think it was like 8 months building my business before I left. So there was definitely that more of those moments where I was just like, this is sucking my soul dry. And I had to do two things. One, I had to reframe what I was expecting from the role, because I remember that I loved it. There was a point where I absolutely loved it, yet they hadn't changed. I had changed.
Right.
So my expectation of them was so high, because I was like, well, they should notice this. They should value this. Right. And anywhere we use the words should, we've got to really question what's going on there, because it's always setting us up for a disappointment. So recognizing that, I was like, I needed to reframe that, okay, they haven't changed. I'm still expected to do this role, and I need to stay here because obviously I'm not ready yet. I wasn't ready yet to leave. And then the other key piece that I did was, and what advice I would give you is, look for the magic in the moments each day and learn what you can that is going to apply if you are choosing to leave, that is going to apply afterwards. So throughout that 8 months, I was literally looking for opportunities to learn, expand, practice, right? I was practicing my coaching skills left, right, and center whenever anybody would let me. I was supporting business owners in ways that, no one else was, because I had the opportunity to do that. I was signing up for all these different learning programs behind the scenes that this company offered, that I was like, oh, well, I may as well maximize the time that I'm here. Yeah. So then when I am ready to leave, I'm ready to dive straight in. So it was those two things. It was reframing my expectation, and then also remembering that, I did love it at one point, and I can enjoy the moments while I'm still working there.
That's so good. And I love that how intentional you were about it, where you had your eyes set on something and you made the best of what you could with where you were at. And that is so amazing.
It was a daily practice.
For sure. Well, and I like to think of kind of the environment, or it's kind of like this analogy of like a seed and soil, right? Like we have all the potential in the world inside, but it depends on the soil that we're put in, right? So is that soil being nurtured? Is it like too dry? Is it being watered? Is it, did a bird come and pick the seed out of the whatever? Are there a bunch of weeds in the soil kind of thing? And so making sure that we're in the right environment for growth is huge.
It's massive. And I feel like I actually use that analogy a lot with my coaching, like, when we're planting and we're, have that different seasons in business where we plant, we grow, and then we harvest. But I also use it in the element of, there's two elements to your environment. There's your external environment, and then there's your internal environment. So if your internal environment is full of weeds, right, limiting belief systems, self-sabotaging behaviors, old ways of being that aren't serving the person that you want to be, then my job, or what I do with my clients, is literally go in and find those weeds and pull them up from the roots. We've got to pull them up from the roots and figure out where that came from to start to release that, so then we can have the choice to then do something different. And I feel like, yeah, you're so right when it comes to the environment. It's everything. And I also kind of feel like sometimes people take that a little bit differently. Do you find this, where some people go, oh, it means I've got to cut toxic people out of my life? Like, do you find people think that as well?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And I'm such a firm believer that it's not what, I don't really believe that's what it's about. It's, yes, inviting more people into your environment so then you can surround yourself with epic people. Absolutely. Because the mindset that you're surrounding yourself with other people's mindsets, will then impact yours and raise your standards and, shift you in ways that maybe you haven't challenged yourself before. But then there's also, I believe, a lesson in being able to manage your mind in difficult times with difficult people.
Yeah.
If you can allow yourself to come back to compassion and acceptance and love in times where someone is, less than positive, or, if you've previously surrounded yourself with people that are quite negative and always look to, the negative side of things, then maybe that's an opportunity for you to keep light and to be able to bring positivity and love to it, because they don't enjoy that either, right? And I think that we often think that we should people out, we need people from our life, but there's also that lesson that people surround us, they're our teachers, and we can utilize that in order to support our mindset and to come back to love.
Oh, I love that so much. I'm such a firm believer, as I'm sure you are. It's what we see in other people is a reflection of what's going on inside of us. And so it's really interesting when we can have that observing, that view as the observer, to where, and I think even this is really practical even nowadays, like with everything going on social media and everyone's attacking whoever and what, you know, like, and it's like, wow, like that's really how you see the world. If that is what you need to project onto me, like we can come back to like exactly what you're saying, Christine, like come back to compassion and like send them so much love, because the internal stuff that's going on inside of them is it's being projected as a big mess onto me or onto someone else. So
yeah. And at the end of the day, like what's the opposite? What's the other choice? The other choice is you can get caught up in it and take it on board and take it personally, which doesn't serve anybody really. But I love that. You're so right. Coming back to that observer seat and truly seeing that that's what must be going on for them, that's what they're experiencing. And there's so much fear in the world right now, and it's honestly heartbreaking. And it's recognizing that like judgment doesn't help. It does not help. Like judging another person and creating separation and, you know, allowing yourself to go, well, oh, that's because they're this. Like when we judge another person, we're judging ourselves, but it's also putting yourself into more pain, like in suffering. There's no point to it. So I'm such a firm believer that too. You just, recognize that they came to that thought and that belief system from their life experience and from what they're surrounded with. Like you don't know everything about them. So, you know, be mindful not to judge.
Totally. I love that. That's so good. So I want to go back to what you were saying about the weeds and the seeds and the planting and the soil on the inside, on the internal environment, and kind of going even along the same line of, right, like a fruit, like what grows, like the fruit is just like the external product of what's going on inside. So if someone does maybe have some weeds on the inside of their environment, how does that manifest, or what does that look like on the outside, whether it's in their behaviors or the way that they're thinking, or what are some of the fruit of maybe some of those internal weeds?
Oh, that's such a good question. It's everything. Your external, all the things. Your external existence is what has been developed from what you currently see. So what you're currently telling yourself, what you believe, your values, your standards, your life experience, like it's all part of who you believe you are. And one of the core things I want to speak to is if you believe that you don't deserve something, or if you are undeserving and not good enough, you will have life experiences that will prove that to be true, right? We'll attract that in our vibration. We'll attract that into our life experience. But if you work on your self-worth and you start to work on the belief systems around your abundance and that everything is available to you, you just have to believe it, right? You just have to absolutely believe that you deserve it and come back to that place. And it's not arrogance or anything like that. It's literally your birthright. You were born deserving. And if you can come back to that place and practice that worthiness, the fruit that you will create in your world will blow you away, because we are our biggest block. We are the ones getting in our own way. We are the ones turning off our abundance. And when we learn to switch that back on from that place of worthiness, everything is possible. And I've seen this time and time again with the clients that I've worked with, even with myself. Like when I'm stuck in that doubt and fear, we literally create experiences of more doubt and fear. But when we're coming to that place of trust and just knowing that absolutely it's available to us, and we come from that place of almost grounded gratitude, yet expectation of just knowing like it's coming. And yeah, the fruit just absolutely shows up.
I love that. And it's almost like, I like to call it the confirmation bias, right? So there's that technical term of the, right. When we have this belief, now all of a sudden it's kind of like if you have gone shopping for a car and now all of a sudden you see that car everywhere, right? That's that confirmation bias. Your brain and your belief system is clicked on, it's turned on, it is honed in onto that one thing. And now you're going to start to have to like figure out where it's confirmed in the rest of my life. Oh, I was 5 years old and the little girls they said that I couldn't go play with them on the playground. And now my 5-year-old little heart subconsciously thinks I don't belong. I'm not enough. And now my confirmation bias is going to say, oh, here's another place I don't belong. Oh, here's another place where girls don't like me. Oh, here's another place where I'm not enough, or maybe I'm too much, or whatever that might mean. And now all of a sudden that starts to show up and we're like, oh yeah, this is totally how my life is, because I've confirmed it over and over and over and over again. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And it works in the opposite as well, that if you believe that to your core, that your brain will actually delete and distort anything else that's to the contrary, right? So if you're coming from a place of scarcity and not believing that there is enough, like there's not enough clients going around, there's not enough money, there's not enough whatever in the world, then your brain will literally distort the other abundance that is available to you. So that's why you've got to shift that belief system first to start seeing the abundance that's already available to you and start seeing different realities, because like similar to that situation, we'll start to see, or our brain will delete like times where someone has asked you to join with something where you can feel like you belong, and you've, discarded it for something else that we didn't mean that. It's like, have you ever had someone react in a really interesting way to a compliment you've given them?
Yes.
It's like, right. And you can think, well, oh, that's not the way I meant it. But yet the way that they've taken it on board is based on what they believe to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so interesting. So going back to what you were saying about money mindset and shifting your mindset towards the abundance of what's available, what are some of your favorite ways to shift?
Ooh. So I'm such a firm believer in the deep subconscious work. And what I mean by that is that we can do so much conscious work. So what I mean by that is literally with our eyes open, we're consciously thinking through the belief system, where it came from, understanding it, like, reading your books, doing the courses, like all of that type of thing. And that works to a certain extent, because that belief system lives in your body and it's attached to an emotional blueprint that has been locked in so tight. And unless we do the deep subconscious work, where we need to activate the subconscious mind, so we need to quieten the conscious mind and allow us to dig a little bit deeper and to tap into the subconscious mind of where that began. Just like you were saying before around inner children and diving into where did that come from, that root cause. I love getting to the root cause and figuring it all out. It's like a little puzzle piece. And the other interesting thing too, that with doing the deep subconscious work, is that these belief systems, they were created at such a young age. We don't realize it. Like literally every deep belief system that is impacting your life today has started from such a young age and catapulted to now what you currently exist. So your existence that you're living in now. And yet back at that time when you were 4 or 5, your brain didn't have the conscious awareness to have full context of the story. So it didn't have the ability to look at, oh, isn't that interesting that mum and dad are saying we can't afford it, but it's not that we don't have any money. It's because they are choosing to prioritize their money over here, right? Or maybe they're looking at saving for this next house and they're not going to tell me that, right? So it's so interesting when we start to dive back into those inner children. We look back and go, oh, isn't that interesting that I thought that? But now that I have that hindsight, now that I can look back and go, well, actually what was really going on for mum and dad at this point makes no sense to why I would think this. But our brain will always deduce those belief systems. It will try to make meaning in every single possible place for it to feel safe and certain. And yeah, so I love working through inner children and shifting that. The other element I love doing is the MBraining that you mentioned in my opening. It's a really interesting modality where it's creating an inner alignment with our multiple neural networks in the body. So we have not just the brain. So our brain is one neural network, and scientific studies have now proven there are multiple neural networks in the body. So we have our brain, our heart. So our heart is where we feel all of our emotions, obviously, and it's where we feel connected. It's where we feel really connected to our values of what's truly important to us. And it's really fascinating because it has its own language and it's very different to the head. And then we have our gut. So our gut center is our trust center, and it is our safety center, and it's also our action center. It's where we take action from. So you will have heard people use terms like, oh, just go with your gut, right? It's like gut instinct. We actually have a language around it because that neural network is constantly communicating with us. And then we have our autonomic nervous system, which is also running basically the whole show of our whole body. And then we have our sexual organs as well, which is where we birth things from. So with a lot of women that I work with in business, we'll have go back to times during the birth, like when they were born in the birth canal or while they were in the womb, because they're birthing something in their life, they're taken back to a moment where they had similar fears and doubts. And that's when we're birthing into the world. And it's super fascinating to have these moments where they were able to recognize that these shifts or emotions or belief systems were developed then. I know this is really crazy, but honestly, it's incredible work to do. And it's fascinating when it always comes back to that when they're birthing something new into their business or they're birthing a new business. There's always this really close impact to the womb. And so then basically with these different neural networks, we can be out of alignment. So what I mean by this is that you may have, your head has got all the ideas. Maybe you're stuck overthinking and you're trying to figure it all out and what to do next and all of the things and playing out all the scenarios. So your head is actually overriding your gut center. Our gut is where we take action from, not our head. And so that's where we need to create this inner alignment where we allow the gut to take back that job and take back that control in order to take that action and keep moving forward. Or maybe we're taking all the action and we're figuring out all the ideas with our head, but our heart's not in it, right? And it feels like we're just pushing. And that's because we're not connecting our goals or our purpose to our heart center with our emotions, and we're not feeling in it, or we haven't attached them to our values. So we're creating this beautiful inner alignment to get them working together and supporting each other. So then you can take action and it be completely in flow and an enjoyable experience rather than it being this push-pull internal conflict that's going on.
I love that. That is so beautiful. That is like the deep definition of alignment in every area of your life. That is so, so beautiful. Well, Christine, I know that people are going to want to know how to just dive into your world and reach out to you and maybe see what it looks like to have you work with them on alignment or even your money mindset course. And you have just been providing so much value, and I'm excited for everyone to dive in to your world. So how can they find you? How can they follow you? And then this is the question that you propose that I ask you at the end. But if you weren't doing what you were doing now, what would you really be doing?
Oh, I knew this was going to come back and bite me.
So for those of you guys, I'm just going to preface this before Christine answers. I've been thinking about trying to have this like a kind of a last question that I get to ask all of the guests that I have on here. And she was like, well, what about this? And that was the question that she asked, like kind of like almost like the different or the opposite of what you just started with. Like you're meant for more moment. I know I'm meant for this, but now I'm going to wish I was, or I'm meant for something different. And so we were just joking that this is going to come back to bite her in the butt. And now it is. Here it is.
And I'm like literally racking my brain going, oh my goodness, what could I even say? I think it'll either be two places. One, it'd have to do something with talking. Like I'd either have to be a TV host or like a talk show host or something crazy like that. Or I have absolutely no skill when it comes to being an artist, but I would just love that. Like, I feel like there's something so magical about painting and about creating something from nothing. I would love to do that, but I have absolutely no skill when it comes to that.
And that's just a skill you could learn. Go take some painting classes.
Very good point. Very good point.
I'm going to follow up with you to see when you're going to start your painting classes.
Crazy. Okay. Yeah, I will definitely check that out. Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. This has been super fun. For those who'd love to reach out, I'd love to hear anyone who listens to the podcast. Like it feels so weird as a podcaster to be putting this outward information into the world, but then not hearing a response. Like for me, who loves to talk to people, it's such a, weird space. So if you are listening to this and you need to get something out of it, please reach out to us on socials, because I just love hearing what you take away. So you can find me. I hang out most on Instagram. I'm on Facebook as well. But on Instagram, my handle is Christine Corcoran _coach. So come and find me there. Otherwise, if you would like to get your hands on a little bit of extra support with your money mindset, I offer a 10 money mindset shifts to supercharge your business. So you're welcome to download that. It's a little freebie that I offer. I'll make sure I give the link to you, Charity, and you can pop it in the show notes.
Yes, I love that. Yeah. And I'll make sure to have everything in the show notes. You guys can just scroll on down, click all the buttons, join all the things, download all the freebies, and dive into Christine's world. Thank you again so much for being here. You are a gift. You are a gem, and what you are doing is making the world a better place. I'm so grateful for you.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening to the show. I hope it brought some value and some fun into your business and life. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast, and even share the episode with a fellow business bestie who you know will love it. It helps us continue to attract top-level guests and reach more and more women who are on their journey in business just like you. Remember that when money gets in the hands of good women, great things happen. Cheers to your success.